I always I think that communication is one of the biggest pillars when it comes to any relationship that is healthy. I think a lot of unhealthy relationships lack communication, but they may not necessarily lack sex, right? That's what I believe. So when I see when I hear that you're saying that, it brings me to a place where if I don't know my partner, and if I don't care to know my partner, or if I'm not equipped to know my partner, then communication I think is going to be difficult. Because really, what am I going to say, right? Or being open to even hear what they want to say. So I wonder what is preventing people from putting themselves in a situation to be heard and to be known.
I mean, it's a good question. Um, if I'm going to so many different areas right now in my mind. One of them is sometimes we find patterns in the people that we choose, right? Because it's what's familiar to us. I mean, we can go back to Bowen, like the father of marriage and family therapy. He talks about differentiation of self, and that we tend to look for the same people until we become kind of different. Um, so if I often find myself in a relationship where I feel like me, that example, walking on eggshells, right? Without doing some searching and understanding who is the partner that I don't want to be and who is the partner that I do want to be, the likelihood that I would just continue repeating my pattern is high because I will often feel attracted from the same people. And that's when you say, well, very Freudian of you, always go to your parents. And like, but it's who are the people that you first know? What's that the relationship that reminds you of? Never to like say that, the person in an abusive relationship is the one to blame, not at all what I'm saying, but we just tend to choose the same people without really understanding how come. So we need to kind of get to know ourselves a little bit. And sometimes we don't take the time to get to know ourselves. Um, because it's not something really that we learn. Hey, have you met yourself? Do you like who you are? Have you talked to yourself in the mirror? It's just the person that knows you best, right? People don't necessarily do that. So I think learning about who we are and what we want can really help us in identifying who are the people around us that foster that. Like for me, as I said, like I wanted to be a person who didn't walk around eggshells. I wanted to be, like something as very silly. I come from a family, or my mom mainly is a picky eater. She does not eat veggies. I found the world of vegetables when I went out to college, and oh my God, I love vegetables. I could so be a vegetarian without an issue. I just also like meat and fish and all that good stuff. But I I have many things that I've been a picky eater at, very limited, right? One of the exercises, which is a bonus worksheet that I added here, is what I call me in 3D. And part one of the me in 3D is who I was, who I am, and who I want to become. I was a very picky eater. I am much better at being adventurous with my eating. I still want to get better at that. But usually people around me will always say, well, you don't like that. You don't eat that. Do you eat that? No, Patricia doesn't eat. And I always felt judged. And my husband helped me feel okay with not wanting to try something or wanting to try something. So he helped me be a better version of myself. Um, and today, like when I look at I had an oyster. That was the Everest for me. Okay. I had never had an oyster in my life. But it usually the thought would have been, oh, whereas the thought now is, okay, I don't know what you taste like. Let me try you. And if I don't like you, let me have something here that I like to go like right after. Right. But as we can essentially like change, and as we change, our choices of whom we want to have around us also change. I kind of went somewhere totally different to kind of go back there. I hope I
No, it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't know.
100%.
right?
Yeah.
And the devil that you know is less scary than the devil that you don't know. And that's why people get caught. It's scary to even think of that. And I like for you, like you're looking, you deal with, is it men, women, both? Do you
Both.
work with both? Both. So for me, I work mostly with women over a certain age, over 50, like I've mentioned, and their needs are a lot different because a lot of them have been there and done that, and they're just trying to ride off into the sunset, into the twilight of their life, right? Versus you have both. And when you're dealing with both men and women, do you find common struggles that they go through when they're trying to understand all of this?
So I have not done a study on this. So I'm not speaking statistically. I am speaking from my empirical experience. I always find that really important to say because there's a difference between data and opinion, right? One of the things that I've noticed in well, I've worked both with same-sex marriage and heterosexual marriages. So I'll speak on different genders, husband and wife, just making it one of the things that I've noticed a lot: silence. Men will often use silence as a I don't know what to say, I don't want matters to get worse. Women will interpret that silence as you don't care, which would then make them speak louder and more forcefully in wanting to get a reaction, which makes the male even more silent. Right. So that's one of the avenues or one of the things that I noticed, right? Silence speaks volumes. So you want to make sure that it is saying what you want it to say. Right? Allow people to know the meaning behind your silence. Um, so yeah, that's one example that I can give that I've noticed being a pattern. I can actually give a second one, which is, and this came even from a personal experience of mine with a really good friend, but something that I noticed, like for the guys, is um, if this is an insipid thing. So I like, why should I mention it if it means nothing? Like, let's say like an ex messaged you and you deleted it, and so you're like, this, please no, like I didn't communicate, there was no interaction, this means nothing, so why am I going to bring it up to make it a mess, right? Whereas the female point of view, again, empirical, not database, but my experience has been, if you have nothing to hide, why are you hiding? Ergo, if you're hiding, is because you have something to hide. Especially, so the finding of information becomes really pertinent to one person, whereas to the other was like, but it was insipid information, but I found this. And that becomes a big problem.